Oh, I don't hate this background. Okay, hello. I'm not really sure if I'm too far away on the camera. I'm going to be honest with you, but part of the reason for that is if I come any further forward, we've got like a weird sun situation going on. So I have moved myself back and hopefully this is a good setup. I quite like this. Maybe we could do this more often. Anyway, hello, my name is Nat and welcome to G and Table Nat. If you're a returning viewer, it's lovely to see you again. If you are somebody who's new to this channel, welcome. Enjoy. I do different sort of knitty videos, recently dipping my toes into a little bit of spinning, so all that yarny goodness. Today we are going to look at some failed knits, and I'm actually going to add in crochet there too. So my history is a bit of a strange one when it comes to this craft. I did a bit of knitting. I got taught by my friend on flat needles and I did that for a wee bit of time, maybe about a month or two, and then my other friend crocheted and I wanted to learn, so I was able to do some granny squares, and then after that I had an operation and I was off for 6 weeks and I learned to do a lot of crocheting, a lot of aragurumi. We'll not look at any of the aragurumi today, and I spent most of that year on crocheting. And then at the end of that year I then dipped my toe back into knitting and knitting hats and garments, and from there I have been knitting garments ever since. So let's get started. What you're going to notice is I will be looking down at my iPad for notes because that is where all my notes are. Let's talk about what I'm wearing today. I am wearing the basic bulk knit tank by True Summer Knits. I am wearing it in Knitting for Olive dark bottle green, I want to say. I'm not really sure. And that actually leads us on to the first failed whip. So the top that I have here is another basic boat neck tank, which is looking a little crumpled and you're going to have to forgive that. But beforehand it was a Camisole number 5, which is a ribbed, I can't remember how it's ribbed, let's see. So the Camisole number 5 by My Favourite Things Knitwear is a 2x2 rib vest top, and I will be honest and say I did the tiniest swatch. I'll see if I can find it for you. The swatch I used for this, embarrassingly, was this. Like, look at that. I've got small hands and that's what I did, isn't it? As a swatch. Yeah. So, needless to say, it came out very, very big and was gapey and everything like that. But in my head, I made it out of Knitting for Olive cotton merino in Thundercloud, I think it was called, and just assumed that I had the right yarn, it was going to work out, I had the right needles. It was not a shout. It's not something I would it was an early cautionary tale for why swatches are important. I'm getting so much fluff in the camera. I am so sorry. It's because of the sun, I promise. Yeah, it probably is dusty in here. Yeah. It came out horribly. It was way too big. The armhole, I'm sure, was like really far down. Yeah. I also considered putting this top and the one I'm wearing as failed knits as well. And then I put this on today just because I haven't worn it in ages and I don't hate it. It's a wee bit hard to get in. If you've got glasses on, you need to take your glasses off because the neckline is quite tight. The armholes don't have much stretch when you go to put your arms in because of the I-cord, but I think that's a me thing. And the reason I was going to put this down as a failed knit was the yarn choice. As I say, Knitting for Olive cotton merino. It's really quite hitchy to me on a close to skin garment. This is coming from somebody who has since done 3 more tank tops and knitting for olive cotton merino. Yeah, I don't hate it, and the itch isn't always there. It just depends on how warm I am. It depends on if I'm distracted. Like there's times I'm not noticing it. Not to say it's not there, but I'm not noticing it. That is that. I am not working in an order, by the way. I have a pile of WIPs. No, I have a pile of failed projects, and I am just picking them up as I go. This is my first crochet, and one of my only crochet tops I made. Now this I think was made with, was it a King's Cole? Maybe it wasn't, I don't know. But it was made with a chenille yarn, and I had intended to follow a pattern which said about doing, I think it was like slip stitches and like single crochets, and then I was like, I don't want to, and just completely did this on my own. So this is my first example. It's a dress essentially now, and it's, yeah, it's got ends. I've worn it when it's cold. It's quite nice in the house if I've got like leggings on with it. It'll keep you cozy in the winter, but it's definitely not something I would have gone out with. It was made using 2 panels. So I had your front panel and the back panel. I then did the sleeves separate. So I had the sleeves and then sewed them on. Yeah, and then I thought that the neckline was too wide, so I went and did some more double crochets around the neckline, which does bring it up, to be fair. And I think maybe it had the gauge been better, it would be fine. But you can't block something like this. I don't think you can really get chenille yarn wet. So it was a bit of a strange one to have chosen for a garment, but back in 2024, I didn't know much better. But as I say, you can wear it with a dress and a top underneath, obviously, and leggings, and it works as a stay-at-home thing. There would be no point in me going to try and frog this because the chenille yarn would probably just fall apart. So I'm not even trying. While we're looking at chenille yarn and what I've made with chenille yarn, I made a big blanket, and this was my first big knit project. So this was the first time I started to knit, and it was with straight needles. I can't remember the gauge. My friend had taught me how to knit. We were working on the assumption that because I'm left-handed, I had to do the opposite way. Since learned I can knit the same as anybody else. I just knit continental, which works better for me as a lefty. I had done 2 smaller projects before, and I think they were okay. They both seemed like they were proper garter stitch and there was no issues. However, me and my friend both casted on a blanket, again, start of 2024, end of 2023 maybe even, and we both casted on about 100 stitches, and we kept looking at mine and being like, why do they look so different? I've not shown you yet. And we just thought like it was because I was left-handed, or I don't know, we could not figure it out. And a year or so later, I compared it to like doing some very tight double crochet stitches. However, I have since learned, I'll show you this, that this was just completely twisted. I twisted every single stitch, I think, which made it a lot thinner, which is annoying because I then had to go back and add some double crochet edges to this to try and make it wider for me, and even then it's not quite that. I could use it as like a cover, I suppose. And it's giving me thoughts about maybe using it for this, but I don't know. Maybe we'll find somewhere for it, or maybe like pass it on to somebody who could use it for like if they've got double beds. So next what we've got is one of the first jumpers I made other than the step-by-step jumper. I think this was maybe number 2, and I made this in acrylic yarn, potentially King Cole Islands DK. Don't ask me the colour. I don't know if the colour even still exists, because I had 2 balls which I had originally used to crochet a cardigan. It wasn't working. So maybe I should put a picture in here. It looked like I was trying to wear camouflage, like, you know, that sort of like camouflage knitting with all of the where you would like stick leaves and stuff to it. Yeah, that's what it looked like. So yeah, I was like, I need to find a purpose for it, and I made blouse number 1 by my favourite things knitwear. Now this in itself isn't that bad. I think the issue was more I made an acrylic yarn and it just doesn't fit quite right. And I think in general I've realised I am not a big fan of blouse number 1. It's lovely, it's a gorgeous pattern. It is just not for me. I prefer a further in neckline. This is really wide, like it comes to where my bra straps are. So I have actually started a project vlog for another sort of blouse, which is inspired by blouse number 1, but I've changed all of the measurements. It's only inspired by look in blouse number 1. The gauge is different, the neckline is thinner or like not as wide. I completely figured out the contiguous set and sleeve myself. Yeah, nothing is actually by that pattern, if that makes sense. But other than that, this isn't that bad. I could probably wear it, or I could probably give it on to somebody who would enjoy it more than me. Yeah, not a fault of the pattern. The pattern itself was easy to understand, especially as a beginner knitter. As I say, this was like my 3rd thing I had probably knit, and it was good, but the yarn's not it. And I had to do a big hunt to find a third ball of this acrylic yarn, because as I say, I couldn't find it. I had bought 2 balls for a different project, and then by the time I went back realising I needed a 3rd ball, I couldn't find it anywhere. It was really frustrating. I had to buy it online, I think it was eBay, for double the price of what it originally was. Next, I want to show you the Eva Cardigan by PetiteKnits, and that is this jumper here. This is a long story. So one thing to know is this wool came from a gift, and the gift was something I was never going to wear. So what I did was I frogged all of the wool, and I still have some of the wool up the stairs, and I decided I was going to reknit it. However, because this was a knitted up garment, which was bought, it was store bought, it wasn't, the person itself hadn't knitted the item for me, because it was it wasn't a garment, and I undid it. I didn't actually know what weight it was, and this was maybe my 4th thing in it. And so I searched up how to find out about yarn weight without knowing, or something along those lines, and then it came up with what was it, wraps per inch, and it told me by wraps per inch it was a DK weight. And because it told me it was a DK weight, I then went, it's going to be fine for the pattern. I didn't gauge swatch. And what has happened because of that is I have this jumper that is way too small and really scratchy. It's not something I would like to wear. The pattern itself was okay. It was quite confusing as somebody who had never done anything before. I think this was an interesting one. I can't remember how it worked now. I think it does a bit of a sleeve cap. Oh, I don't remember it. And I think that the Eva cardigan looks lovely, but this was made in 100% British wool and at the wrong gauge, so it's like tight to skin. I wouldn't be able to wear this without wearing a long sleeve top on, and the sleeves are the wrong size and all this other stuff, so it was a fail. The one nice thing about it is the buttons. think the buttons really look nice with it. Which should be the case because the buttons also came on the garment I had before. On to the last garment. This was my first attempt at design, and I attempted it and never designed anything for another year. It was probably about this time last year I decided to design this, and this is because I couldn't find what I was after. This is in Drops Air. I don't remember the colourway and I don't have it anymore, so I don't know. And it was done in brioche. So what I did was I wanted to make like a drop shoulder cardigan, but at that time I didn't know any constructions, so I just increased and then increased and increased and increased and increased and increased for ages, and then realised that it was way too big and I had a weird bulge because I had been increasing the whole way down here. It was horrible. Let me show you the inside. I had to go back and take out a load of the stitches, but I didn't know how to do it without ruining it. So it's all here. Here are all my ends that I have woven in on the inside. And with it being Drops here, I don't wear this either. I can't remember if it fits. Oh, it does. But I feel I'm always self-conscious about here and all the issues I made here. So I don't tend to wear this. It's actually really short. Let me show you. Yeah, and the double knit button band I did, which I'm really proud of myself for being able to do at such a early stage. It's tight. Another issue I had was my increases here. They're fine if you go and button it up, but this is an awkward length to start your buttons. I would much rather my buttons started like in between these two, like if it started here. So this was a complete fail. It's a nice colour though. I wouldn't say no to me having something else in this colour at another point. Another issue I seem to have is I kind of find it like alpaca really prickly. Like it's not nice for me sensory wise. Like it leaves me feeling like itchy as soon as I get a bit warm. There we go. That is my failed whips over the last 2 or 3 years. We'll say last 3 years because I included crochet. I hope you enjoyed watching. Comment below any horror stories you've had while knitting. I would really like to know that I am not alone in knitting a lot of failed garments, more so in the past than now. I feel I've become a lot more competent and I am now knitting to my measurements that work better for me, and I'm learning more about yarn. So yeah, if you've got any failed whips and you would like to show me them, feel free to tag me in an Instagram post or a story. I would love to see them. I think it's really nice and refreshing to show that we're not always going to do the best knitting we could do. If you've enjoyed this video and you're not subscribed, feel free to subscribe. You'll see more content like this in the future. I do some knitting, some spinning. I enjoy doing a wee project vlog showing you what I am self-drafting. So yeah, and I hope you have a nice morning, day, evening, week, month, year. I hope it's brilliant, and I will catch you in the next one. See you later.